Hallo en welkom bij alweer een nieuwe aflevering van Eigenlijk Feitelijk, Actually Factually, de nieuwe podcastshow waarbij ik, uw gastheer, Yoni van Genechten, een aantal internationale gasten uitnodig, opdat we allemaal samen toch weer al maar eens een uur van uw leven kunnen verspillen. Actually Factually, a little mix of entertainment about everything and nothing all at once, where your everyday dose of averageness is the punchline, where the words international and travel are likely to be heard at least once, and where the guests, they do really matter. Nu, wie zijn mijn gasten? Wat doen ze? En waarom? Wel, efficiënt en discreet wordt de waarheid compleet. Maar al is het mysterie nog zo groot, Yoni legt de waarheid bloot. Let's go. Age.
94.
Location.
Canada.
How long has it been since we last saw each other?
Was it almost a year and a half, I think?
Have you ever been on a podcast, TV, or an interview?
TV interview, yeah.
Okie doke. Very well. Whoa. Intro. Hello there, Mr. Munro. How's it going?
Not too bad, Yoni. How are you?
Great to hear. Well, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, it's the same kind of situation for everyone, I'm assuming. So, all things considered, not too bad. Yeah. How's it going professionally at the moment?
Not so much. Still working on that aspect of things. So it's a little bit tight around here at the moment. So
yeah.
But getting by.
Yeah. Privately, you're doing okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure you are. No biggie there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll quickly jump into the next big question as we've done the introduction. But I'm going to sum up your life journey, your records, your milestones, so to say, in a nutshell.
Sure.
Born and raised in Canada. A working history in security, bartending, personal training, etc. You've been to quite a few places in the world now, among which Australia, New Zealand, Thailand, the Philippines, Vietnam, etc. Now, having summed up all those countries and things in your life, I'm probably missing and skipping a huge chunk of your life and life-changing things so far. But looking at the records as they are, or as I can see them, it seems to me like you've got quite a passion for travel. Would I be right in saying that?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely always been one of those like cliche things, but I've always been drawn, you know what I mean? Something's just pulling me away, and travel's always been that answer.
And so what's like the reasoning behind that? Did it just happen all of a sudden of like, oh, I've been bitten by the travel bug after you've gone on a holiday, or?
No, it was before I ever actually went like properly traveling. Like I knew I just always did. I always wanted to see other things, all the beautiful places that our Earth has to offer, which is always a difficult question for me. Or people like, oh, like, where do you want to see the most? Well, I kind of want to see everything, like, and it's hard, and it basically just comes down to what's the easiest for me to do right now. Right. And then that dictates where I end up being, and I think for a lot of people, Southeast Asia is huge because it's so affordable. Right.
And would you consider it yourself as a sort of escapism? Is that how you say it in English? Escapism?
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know if I ever thought about it that way, like intentionally, but I think in a roundabout way, it kind of has to be, right? It's not necessarily that I'm trying to run away from things here or anything by any stretch. It's just I've had this, for almost my entire life. I want change. I want difference. I love experiencing new cultures, and you know, coming from Canada, we're a little bit more privileged than many of the countries in the world. So going and being able to see what other countries may be lacking, or even still, like, you go to a more impoverished country and check it out. There's always a culture shock for most people, but I don't really do the culture shock thing, and just never has. But I go and I want to see. But then it's also like, you know what? For being a third world country, they actually do this better than what we do as a first world country, like, and their perspectives are so vastly different than what I'm used to here in, say, North America, right?
yeah. Yeah, I know I shouldn't have used the term escapism or escapism
No,
because
you're not
it's quite a
incorrect.
strong term. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I do totally understand. I think it counts for everyone or it goes for everyone who's like into travel, has done backpacking and whatnot. So yeah, cool beans. And now what's the travel perception like in Canada where you live? Are you like, I'm just going to give you an example. Are you like the first one in your family to do it? Is it quite common or not at all?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely the outlier there.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Um, like my mom's not a traveler, doesn't interest her.
Mhm.
Um, my brother, much the same. My sister did a couple of resort things down in the Caribbean and whatnot, but she's never been like proper travel, like backpacking or anything like that. Just, we'll go spend a week or 2 weeks here at a resort and sort of explore around that area. Um,
Yeah, that makes sense. And what's the perception of the general population in Canada like? Is it because in my experience, you meet a lot of Canadians when you're traveling and
mhm.
when you're out and about. Is it really that common for Canadians to be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go on a working holiday or?
More so than I was aware when I left. Like, I think I knew two or three people that
Mm,
had done something similar.
okay.
Like I have my a friend Stacy. She actually ended up moving to Australia, and now she didn't go do like world backpacking or anything like that, but she went and did the working holiday visa and ended up being there for like 7 or 8 years. And then she's only recently returned home as well. And then I've got actually, yeah, most of the people I know have done that. I only know a couple of people who've gone backpacking and actually done a handful of countries or more. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, and then getting abroad, like you said, meeting tons of Canadians, or with my luck, it was typically show. Yeah, man, there was just like 8 Canadians who were here for like 4 months. I'm like, really? I've met like one Canadian, and then eventually that changed where I started rolling into groups of Canadians here and there and getting talking to all of them. It's definitely more popular, and I think more from like out west, like Alberta to BC seems to be where the majority that I'm meeting were coming from. I only met a couple from Quebec, and I think maybe two from Ontario, and nobody from the East Coast. So,
All right, fair enough. Because I always got the experience that there's not an awful lot of French Canadians traveling. You do get them, especially in New Zealand, I think. But
yeah.
and again, that's in my experience. There was a lot of French Canadians in New Zealand. Not so much in Australia, though, I thought.
I don't
Um,
think I met any in Australia, and only a
no,
couple in New Zealand.
yeah.
So,
Um,
but, and then I would just hear stories. Oh, yeah, we met a French Canadian guy that one time.
mm,
But yeah, I think I only ran into him in New Zealand. I don't think I've met them anywhere else other than New Zealand, to be honest.
yeah, well, fair enough. We're talking about them as if they're like kind of leprechaun at the end of the rainbow right now.
Quebec is a
Oh,
place. I promise they exist.
right. Oh, there's me pot of gold. um, what was I going to say now? Um, do you do you experience because Canada, New Zealand, Australia, the UK, they're all like part of the Commonwealth.
Mhm.
Have you, in your experience, experienced anything like as if it's quite easy to obtain working holiday visas purely because they're part of that Commonwealth? Or
Yes. And well, I don't know if it's I mean, it's definitely part of it, because Canada's kind of a bit unique where we are still part of that circle, but we're also a little bit more removed, right? Like, for example, there's a list of countries that are that get the reciprocal healthcare in Australia,
mm,
which include, like the UK and such. Canada's not on that list for
okay,
some reason, right? And like we are a little more separated, from the crown, so to speak. But like I still thought we'd be a part of that. Turns out we're not. But then you get some countries that you wouldn't expect to be on there, that aren't part of the Commonwealth. And I think it's like Latvia or something like that is on the list. And you're like, how did they make it, but Canada didn't?
oh,
You know,
that's interesting.
yeah, it was a little bit surprising in that regard.
Hmm.
But and I mean, it's Canada as a whole is one of the best nationalities, I guess, to be able to travel abroad because they're so widely accepted almost everywhere. And even compared to, like, say, the US, for example, there's some countries, oh, you're Canadian? Yep, come on in. You don't need a visa. You got a month. Don't worry about it. If you want to stay longer, then you can apply or just do like a border run. And then it's like, oh, the US, no, you need a visa on arrival, and then there's limitations associated with that. Not everywhere, but that's just one example. But and even still with like even the Australia working holiday visa scheme, I don't know since the new changes, what was it, last year? I think it was, or
Yeah.
the year before. Um, Even then, they had a little more restrictions than we did. Like where they were able to do their rural work was different. It was based on their locations were more specific and restricted. As where Canada is pretty much, yeah, as long as you're not in the major cities, you're pretty much okay. Doesn't matter if you're in the north, the south, east, the west, you're good to go. And there's a lot of other countries who are restricted. Like you could, if they did, say, the same job I did down in Victoria, that those days do not count for them because they have to be above the Tropic of Capricorn. So basically,
Okay.
like Northern Territories and Northern Queensland. But then, so they're either in the outback or just super empty areas, right, where they really, really need workers. They're restricted to that, which isn't necessarily the most fair thing, but
Mm.
they must have the reasons for it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I have heard of that before. That you've got to be like above the or below the Capricorn thing. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's interesting matter for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a
Yeah,
talk show about that just
yeah.
by itself, really.
Yeah, because
Um,
some of those restrictions were lifted with the newer visa laws there, or the working holiday schemes for some of those countries, where it made it more available. So there are more options for them, but still more restrictive than what a Canadian would have imposed on them.
right, right, right. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, Now, obviously, I don't think all of the viewers who will watch this episode are aware, but you and I, we actually go back to like what, 2018, I think it is. Yeah, 2018.
Yeah,
Because we first met each other in Byron Bay, Australia.
we did.
Um, and tell me and tell the rest of the viewers a little bit more. How did you end up in Byron Bay? Were you there for a long time, like in Australia, or?
It was I think it was in my second year. Yeah, it was definitely my second year because obviously I spent a good chunk of my first year getting my visa days in those 88 days.
Mm,
And when I did that, I did a little different than most people. I moved around and did quite a few different areas instead of just banging it out in one spot. So like I flew into Melbourne and spent a couple months there, making friends, having a good time, sort of doing the vacation to start with. And then it's like, all right, well, now it's time to get down to work. So I stayed in Victoria, just a couple hours north, went up to Shepparton, worked on some orchards there, which is pretty typical. Most people end up doing farm work for their days just because it seems to be the easiest job to get into, that or hospitality. And then, yeah, from there, I was there. I did maybe 1 month of my days there. And then I took off to northern Queensland and did 3 different farms up there, I think. Pruning mango trees, watermelon picking. Terrible job. Even if you're super fit, it's really hard. 12-hour days, rain 7 days a week, rain or shine. And when the sun's blistering, it's a whole new ball game. And you're lifting some up to like 16-kilo watermelons, and you're just go. Don't recommend it.
I know you can't imagine, can you?
Yeah. And yeah, so I did and then I did another orchard up there as well. But yeah, and then when that was done, I settled back in Melbourne for another like 7 months or something like that. Bouncing around a few different jobs as the visa kind of requires you to. At the time you could only do 6 months per one employer in that given year. But yeah, so I did that, and then yeah, it was the second year, the end of my first year, where I was like, all right, time to like actually travel now. So that's when you set up your typical Melbourne to Cairns East Coast thing. So did that, and then when I got up there, it was time to get back to work again, save up a little more money. So I knew I wanted to be working either Gold Coast, Byron, or possibly up in like Brisbane. So, was in Brisbane, had a buddy there who you met, Paolo. Yeah, so he was keeping an eye out for me for things up there. And then while I was staying on the Gold Coast there, actually in Surfers Paradise, I did a weekend trip down to Byron to meet up with my friend Molly, the travel blogger or vlogger. So did a little like day trip with her and met up with some other friends. And then while I was there, that's when I popped into that particular hostel we were at, and just sort of talked to the manager. And she's like, "Cool, can you start tomorrow?" I was like, "Guess I'll take a bus back, grab all my things, and I'll be here tomorrow." And yeah, ended up there 3 or 4 months, anyways. And then you arrived, maybe a week after I did, I think it was.
Yeah, it wasn't too long.
Yeah, pretty shortly thereafter, and it was, as they say, a match made in heaven.
Yep, you named it. You said it. Yep. And from that experience, let's not call it an experience anymore. From that time in Byron Bay, what do you still love most about Byron and the entire time you were there?
That's a tough one because it was one of the better experiences overall. Like, first off, it's, when people picture Australia, most people picture the outback, and then they think the beautiful, lush, perfect beach, Byron Bay, right? It's a little surf town, it's a little more loose there, so to speak. And and it's not just that. It's not like a little stoner surf town necessarily. You can certainly find that. It's not hidden at all. But if that's not your scene, like, you can totally like get past and not even realize it's there. There's so much to do. And it's I think it's the most popular place for backpackers to go there. And so you just meet a huge array of people from all walks of life, right? And and there's always something to do. It's got, like you said, if you want to be a complete beach bum, absolutely go do that. And we definitely partook in that, like,
no doubt.
Pretty much every day we were down at the beach, rain or shine most days.
Yeah.
But another aspect of it was when we were able to sort of create that that entertainment job that we were doing, you know what I mean? And really expand upon what they already had going. right? Like they, hey, like, yeah, let's do the little barbecue, and we'll have some music in the courtyard, and we'll do a walk up to the lighthouse. Well, then being able to do the free beer tours at the Byron Bay Brewery, and then working hand in hand with those guys to expand upon that, right? Getting the little voucher cards made up that gave the people that we would bring in a discount on, like for Australian prices, particularly in Byron Bay, a burger and a beer, like a full pint for $10. Like you can't even find that in most other countries.
Right. Count
So
me
it was,
in. Yeah.
and I mean, you had it. They made fantastic beer, and they did really good food too. They had a solid kitchen. And then working with them, that was really cool. That this was all sort of independent. Me just hashing things out with them, and they're like, "Cool, man! Like you come in every Saturday and Sunday. You bring in 20, 30 people every time, and then me being as social as I am, I would stay around afterwards, have a few beers, keep them there. Then they'd be buying food, and that's how we developed the vouchers, keeping people more interested. Oh, it's actually a little more affordable to stay and eat here because let's be honest, backpackers are typically penny pinching. So, I would keep 15, 20, sometimes the whole group there spending money. So they're like, all right, man, yeah, your meals and your beverages, that's on us. Thanks for bringing the business down.
Right.
And it got to the point where like there was one day, the guy who ran the tour, we were halfway through the tour and a group showed up from Arts Factory, like halfway through. He's like, well, shoot, we're kind of halfway through this. Like, he's like, you know what, Jordan, you've done this enough times. You lead the tour, continue on. I'll start fresh with these guys. I'm like, all right, let's go, guys. And like being able to gain those experiences and just, sort of sort things out that way was really, really cool experience, and a lot of fun, and then diving that in and expanding, doing beach days and just making new friends. People come in, whether it's for a day, a week, they want, especially if they're solo travelers or just like a duo, you know what I mean? Sometimes not everybody's easy, or finds it easy to just walk up and be like, hi, people, like, I'm new here, let's be friends.
Yep.
Like setting up a beach day where it's a group hostel, thing makes it easy. That's the icebreaker right there. You get everybody together, and all the pressure, so to speak, falls on me, or yourself, being like, hey, bring everybody together, and you just sort of set tasks up. Then there's no need for an icebreaker. They're already part of a group, and so a lot of people really appreciated that. They're like, hey, like, I don't know, I really don't know how to approach people. It's like, yeah, just come join us. We're doing this at these times. Give me a shout when you're ready.
Exactly. And that's when the PA, the announcer thingy of the hostel,
Yes.
came in really handy.
Mm-hmm.
It probably pissed off an awful lot of people at the same time, but it
People
had
who
its
are
pros.
hungover, they're hungover trying to sleep, and we're like, it's 7 a.m. Let's walk up to the lighthouse.
That's exactly what it was like. Yeah,
Yeah,
we've got a nice barbecue tonight.
yeah.
Oh, it's in
People love
7
that
hours.
barbecue, man.
Yeah,
That was a good
fantastic.
day. Just
Yeah.
crank the tunes, open a couple of brews, and
Yep.
rip. That was good stuff.
That was really good. On that note, I don't know if I told you yet, but last I heard was that the actual brewery, it's no longer like open to visitors, etc. So like they've shut down their kitchen and all that.
Circumstantial.
No, like way before. This
Oh,
is like almost 2 years ago now, I think.
really?
I think so.
They're
Yeah.
doing so well, or at least
Yeah.
appear to be.
Yeah. Because I knew they at some point they released the hazy one. I think they called
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
and they
That was
released that
they
one
released it.
in yeah, and they released that one in cans
But yeah,
and
so essentially they're doing more um, of that as opposed, and they've shut down the brew pub, so to speak.
I think so. And there's no more like what we used to do the brewery tours. I don't think they're doing those anymore either.
Hmm.
Um, now because there was a venue at the back, obviously,
Yeah,
to have like all these gigs. I'm not sure how they're still gonna continue or if they're gonna continue at all.
yeah, yeah.
That's last I read, but this is like almost 2 years ago now, I think. So I can't
Hmm.
believe I didn't tell you though. Huh.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that's that's disappointing because
I
yeah,
know,
like
I know, yeah.
they had that side venue room where Sundays there would be raves and stuff like that in there.
Or even
Oh,
comedians.
yeah, they had different things. Well, because that's where I was doing the security work, like the being an RSA marshal.
Hmm.
For all of those, I was there every Sunday, like 12-hour shifts, essentially doing security work.
Yep.
For all of those, and it was say nine out of 10 were a rave, and then yeah, you'd have like a comedian, or if it was raining, they would bring the outdoor live music and stuff and put it in there if need be.
Mhm.
But yeah, and then they had that big back patio, which was fantastic, which led straight into the to that central bar, which was the main bar, and then that connected to that side venue room. So it was great. Like they always had something 3-4 a week typically,
Yep.
at least during the summer, the peak periods. So yeah, seems strange that they would like they would suddenly just not be able to do it via numbers.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
wonder what was the cause of that.
yeah. I don't know, because they also had like this niche type of cinema in there,
Yeah.
and then a spa massage thingy next to that one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bigger venue than you initially think. But yeah,
Yeah.
when I
Mm-hmm.
first heard about it, I was a bit gutted as well. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was another thing I was going to mention about Byron Bay because I don't want to keep hounding on Byron Bay, even though it's so nice to
You
talk
could
about
go
it. Oh
forever.
yeah, yeah, exactly. What I was going to say was, have you heard about the new up and coming Netflix show called Byron Bays?
I heard talks of it way back, but it was only just like, hey, this is a thing. I think there was a small teaser clip of it or something. And it's like a reality series, right?
Well, yeah, I guess so. Stage reality, more like maybe.
Yeah, well, reality show.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not too sure what to think of it, but I was reading an article a couple days ago where the actual people from Byron, the locals, were like, "We don't want any of this. This is gonna have a bad name. It's gonna be
Yeah.
damaging to, you know, all everything that we stand for." Um,
Mhm.
as good as social media and influencers can be, and they can have a good impact on certain things, but I don't know. I've
Yeah,
seen
the opposite can certainly be true as well.
exactly, and I've seen clips and I've read things about it. I'm like, not
Yeah,
sure if that's
I could
gonna.
see how, like, they definitely get the impression that that can bring the wrong crowd. There's been many examples of that, and like one of our local beaches here, it's probably about a 45 minute drive from my town, and it's sort of the bigger, nicer one in the area. Like it's a proper beach town. Like people go and work seasonally there. You got the beach, and then you got the strip. With all the bars and your restaurants and little food stands and things. It's great. And actually, they revamped it a few years back too, so it's been nicer now. But they did a beach town reality series there too, at pretty much the biggest bar club that they got going on there. Like it's a bar and a restaurant during the day, and then I don't know, at like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, something like that, turns into a nightclub. And it's pretty much the largest venue there. In that it's called like Coco's or something like that. And they did a reality series there based around like the owner and the staff, and then but then it becomes a drama thing, right? Yeah, as reality series have to be.
Of course.
Um, and but it's that young party, sort of that immature Jersey Shore, trying to mimic that. You know what I mean? So I could definitely, like, I wouldn't want that brought in, and that, or that be the image of my nice little town either, right? I can totally understand their mindset behind that. And it's difficult to steer away from that because that's what the people want, apparently.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And the fact that like people like Chris Hemsworth, for example,
Yep.
they live over there, and I think that social media influencer thingy is like, oh, got a
Mm.
shot at seeing him and his wife
Yeah.
Elsa. Like,
I
yeah,
remember the day heading up toward, was it Tweed's Head? No, not Tweed's Head. What was that big surf spot that goes up around the
Broken
little,
Head.
yeah, Broken Head.
Yeah.
We were walking up that way the one day, and Like this is after I attempted to teach myself to surf the one day with Grant. And then like we went there the one day, well, 10-foot waves, whatever, let's go die. We'll be okay. Get thrashed and come back in.
Yeah.
But and then the next day, going up towards Broken Head, you see him out there surfing. He's got his kid on his shoulders and doing it so effortlessly. I'm like, come on, man! Like my ego dropped down to here, trying to
Yeah.
teach myself, and then you're just here effortlessly with your kid on your shoulders. Like, come on! I know you're the god of thunder and all.
Show off.
You're not Aquaman.
uh, anyway, enough about Byron Bay. We're gonna unfortunately move on because I know we can keep on talking about that. But you left Byron Bay at some point. I left Byron Bay at some point. And I think you moved on to Perisher, the skiing station, and you did some bartending over there and whatnot. Just to sum it up in a nutshell, I went back to Europe, this and that, and lo and behold, a couple months later, I find myself together with Ellis on the soil of New Zealand, and a couple months into that journey, we decide to go to Christchurch. And oh yes, you guessed it, who's there as well? It's Mr. Jordan Munro.
It's really what attracted you there. I know.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really want to say it out loud, but yeah, secretly that's the main reason. Just the reason why I came to New Zealand in the first place. But,
Of course.
yeah. So that was a nice little reunion over there we had.
Certainly.
And you kind of continued your bartending career. Let's just call it a career for now. Or bartending journey. What was the name of it again? Because I keep forgetting.
The Papa Nui.
The Papa Nui. That's what it was. And that was like, how would you best describe the Papa Nui?
So it's a workermen's club, which are big in Australia and New Zealand. But it was one of the newer ones and better funded ones. So it was like people would show up because you're kind of used to that like old, not divey kind of place, but like for anyone in Canada anyways, like you would think like the Legion is sort of what I would compare that to, which tends to be, it's like a workermen's club for the vets essentially. So it tends to be older buildings, a lot of hardwood and like beams and stuff like that, like timber frame sort of aesthetics. And that's sort of what it is. Almost verging on your like pubs and stuff like that, like your English, Scottish, Irish pub.
Yeah.
Lots of wood decor, right? This place was nice. It was fancy. People come in like, this is a workerman's club? Like, wow. But it was also, because it was the largest in Christchurch, it was, not only was everything nice and a little more modern, like they had some of that old school decor, but it was, right? But you come in and we had like a fine dining restaurant to the side, which was part of what I did there. I was sort of in charge of that restaurant. And then that only ran on the weekends. So my Fridays and Saturdays were over there. Then the rest of the week I was over in the sports bar, which was, for the most part, just bartending, slinging beer, pouring wine, nothing fancy.
No.
But it also had like a gaming room and stuff. So I was part of that where I would attend to the gaming and, do the cash up and all that at the end of the night.
Yep.
And then it had the club bar at the back, which is pretty standard. You have your club bar and then you've got your sports bar section with most workmen's clubs. And you have your little slot rooms and then the pokies and stuff like that. And the sports bar, that's the moneymaker. That's where everybody goes, and then the club bar often gets rented out for space. And then it's where you start to see more of the seniors coming in. They'll have, whether it's senior groups or just, a little social circle. But they would come in and do cards on like Tuesday mornings and stuff. So we'd set them up coffee and tea and things like that. And that was sort of the atmosphere of the place. And then eventually there were some changes and we made a buffet and all those things. But Yeah, it was definitely very different. And that stemmed actually. So when I left Byron, moved to Perisher to work the ski season, my employers there knew I was going to be going traveling again when the season was done. Hey, you going to New Zealand? Yep. Oh, well, actually, our best friend runs the Papa Nui over there. We can give him a shout, right? So that was all sort of arranged before I even left the ski season.
Hmm.
And then that's when I took off to the Philippines and Vietnam for a few months.
Yep.
And then it was sort of, hey, give me a shout when you're going to land in New Zealand, and we'll get you going. So it was nice knowing I had a job to go to. I could, and I wasn't pressured like, hey, we need you on this date. Like, we need you for Christmas.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, just give me a shout when you're gonna land. I'll get things prepped. So that was a kind of a nice transition.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Mhm.
And once again, it was lovely meeting up again and having some shenanigans together.
Yeah, it was nice that it was a couple months, not just, hey, we're passing through for a week or something, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. We
yeah.
could probably plan some stuff together and whatnot.
Yeah, some of my fondest memories are, taking off down to Littleton and then
Oh
doing
yeah.
hopping around all the little, brew pubs and stuff like that. Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, Oktoberfest. My God,
good
that was
days.
that was quite the evening.
Got all the picture strips just over in my corner here.
Oh,
So
do you? Yeah.
I got them
I'm
all
sure
pinned up on
there's.
my little board.
I'm sure mine are still around somewhere as well. I've got to look for them,
Mm.
but I do still have them. Um, Now, having said that, we've had the bartending, we've had the hostel job, the activities and events and whatnot.
Mhm.
Um, at the very beginning, I mentioned you've got a history or a working experience in PT, like personal training and all that, and in security as well, as you mentioned. Um, are there any plans as of yet to go back to that, or not at all, or yes, there are?
Security, no. Um, I've I'm just getting out of that. I don't like what it's sort of become
Mhm.
nowadays. And I'm sure, like globally, you've seen it. It's just not a safe job from a physical safety standpoint and a liability standpoint. Everybody's all, oh, you're using excessive force, and like everything's a negative, and everybody wants to intervene. That somebody's walking by and you've got somebody, arrested on the floor, and why are you arresting this man? Why are you doing? How does this have anything to do with you? Like, that's the perception now, is that we're bad people and we must be harassing this person who's a saint. He's done nothing wrong. And sometimes they physically intervene and stuff, and it becomes an unsafe thing. Um, so in my regard, and I'm getting a little bit older now, because I did that for over 10 years. And it's definitely shouldn't be, but it's definitely more of a young man's game. That's just the majority of the people you're getting into.
Yep.
And in my experience, at least in my areas, it's all the good people I started to work with, they've all moved on as well for pretty much the same reasons. And it's very difficult to find skilled people who can do the job. Um, and and I don't just mean the physical aspect of it, I mean the vocal aspect, right?
Yep.
People just don't know how to talk to people. They think, oh, I'm in charge here, you have to do what I say, and they get too aggressive. You know what I mean? They don't know how to talk to somebody. Sure, this person might need to leave. Sure, they might be on the verge of wanting to fight you. But if it takes you 10 minutes to talk to them and they walk out on their own, why not take that extra 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Or that extra 10 minutes, versus, well, you have to leave in 30 seconds because I said so,
Mhm.
right? Like, I don't think any liquor inspector or police officer is going to, come over and be like, you didn't get him out fast enough. Like, no, he walked out on his own, maybe not happy about it, but you didn't have to drag him out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a win-win. There was no risk of somebody getting hurt at that point. The perception is better. Like, do you want to go to a bar where every night you see the bouncers are beating people up or hauling them out very aggressively, or just, hey, they're walking another guy out. Hey, they're walking and talking. Hey, they're walking and talking. Right? It's perception. People feel more safe, more comfortable that way. And it's less risk to yourself and the people around.
Exactly.
So, and it just seems to be going the other direction. And like I said, less skillful people who don't know how to communicate. So for me, it's too much liability, too much physical risk nowadays.
But it's probably got to do with both sides. Like,
Yeah.
it's becoming more forceful because the other side's becoming a bit more like,
Yeah, that's one of the things you don't really hear so much, is you can't be too passive, right? Because then the people realize they're a pushover. I'll do what I want. What's he gonna do, right? Or
yeah,
they. Um, and then so it gets to the point that you need to be a little more forceful, right? So that they know they can't mess around. And it's such a fine line, because you need to start doing that. But especially when people are intoxicated, that's when ego comes in, and then it becomes, a challenge.
no,
And that's never what you want. It's not, oh, I'm in charge and that, you have to do what I say. Well, I'm not going to let, right? Like, no, you're right. That just escalates, and it's never a good scenario. So it's very, very difficult to walk that line, where they know that have their best interest there, even though it's going to ruin their fun for the night.
yep,
That's where being proactive is just your best thing, right? Keeping track of everybody there. Hey, look, man, like you're getting to the point now where we're keeping an eye on you because you've had, a fair bit to drink for, I'm going to recommend, don't go get a drink for a little bit, maybe grab some water, get some food. I don't want to see you drinking your hand for the next hour, right?
yeah,
And sometimes people are really appreciative of that because it's not, hey, time to go, your night's done, right? But no, I want you to stay, I want you to have fun with your friends and whatnot. But if you go any further down the intoxication line, I can't allow you to stay, right? I'm just giving you a heads up. You're working your way there. We're all keeping an eye on this now. Please, but unfortunately, more than half the time they just go, oh, okay, thanks, man, and then they walk straight up to the bar,
yeah,
right? Or they go and get a friend to go get them a drink and then bring it straight back. Like, did you think I wasn't watching yet? Like,
yeah. I've got eyes, buddy.
yeah, and it's like, well, now unfortunately you can't be trusted, so now you do need to leave.
Yeah,
So, but being proactive, the amount of people and the amount of times, like I've run into people off shift and stuff. Hey, you're the guy who kicked me out. Oh, here we go. I just want to say thanks, man. You were so nice. I know, and again, this goes to that perception. You could have kicked my ass, but you didn't, blah, blah, blah. It's like, but like, that's your thought is the security or the bouncer could have kicked your ass, but didn't. Like, why is that the perception? That's a systemic problem there, right?
yep.
So, and it's just all of this where it's like, you know what? I've done it. I've had some fun. It was great, but now I don't need to anymore.
Yep. And it goes to show now with police force as well.
Mm-hmm.
But let's not go there.
Yeah, that's
we don't want to.
sure.
Yeah, we don't want to go into that. I don't want that to be a topic on the show anyway. So
Travel's more fun, anyways.
right. I mean, what more do you need?
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. Next thing on the list. Not that I really have a list, but at the same time, I kind of do. I've got a quick travel question round. You ready?
Sure.
Ready, set, go. Fan or air conditioning?
Air conditioning.
City or countryside?
Depends, both.
Okay.
Depends on
Tea
the
or
mood.
coffee?
I love both.
Okay. Tea or coffee?
Used to be tea, now coffee.
Fair enough. Hot, cold, or a temperate place?
Again, depends, but typically temperate.
Byron Bay or Christchurch?
Byron Bay.
Oof. What's your name?
Jordan.
Fair enough. Late, early, or being on time?
Early.
Okay. Dorm or a private room?
Nowadays, private.
What's your name again?
Jordan.
Rich and ugly, or poor and pretty?
Couldn't care.
Rice or potatoes?
Yeah, I say rice more nowadays, maybe. Nah, potatoes.
Spuds. Strict schedule or go with the flow?
Go with the flow.
Fair enough. What's your name again?
Jordan.
Pretty well done. Pretty well done. You've survived. Do you call yourself a traveler or a backpacker?
Traveler, backpacking was just a mechanism used at the time, right? Like it adds a little bit more freedom and it's a little more budget friendly. So it definitely makes things easier. Like, can you imagine, especially when you're doing, because you can travel, go here for a few days, here for a few days, and not do it backpacking style. But do you want to like carry around two double wheelie things and then like a bag and like no, that sucks. Let's make it easy, right? I don't need 20 different outfits, you know, a good pair of jeans, two or three pairs of, you can get away with like two pairs of shorts if you really needed to, but just a couple pieces of everything, and then like, a week's worth of underwear and you're good. Aside from that, you need two or three of everything else.
Absolutely. Bish bash bosh. That's what I say to that. Well, that was the end of the question round. Well played, good sir. Well played. I'm going to come back to that life journey or your records or all-time highs, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to come back to that. And I've got a question, which is, what would you like to still see added to that list or life journey?
In terms of experiences and or seeing beautiful spaces?
It can be, I would like to own a brand new oven. It can be anything.
Okay, just what do I still linger for in my future?
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely want to have a full life of traveling, right? I don't ever want that to stop.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly not going to be, a full-time thing like, oh, I don't have a home for the next 10 years because I'm always on the move. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to want an anchor point. And I've been, for well over a decade, very much in love with the idea of the tiny home movement, like, which kind of, synchronizes really well with the dorm life and things like that. Never having a huge big space. I've never been one that's super materialistic. I wouldn't say I'm a minimalist by any stretch, but I'm definitely closer to that end of things. I don't need a ton of stuff to be happy. I much prefer to go out and experience things and experience people and new cultures, right? So that all kind of fits well. I just, a nice little spot you can call home. You can come kick your feet up, but then still be able to, go on mini vacations, so to speak, or have that tiny home perhaps in a different place than Canada. Not necessarily, but having the freedom to do so, right? And that'll obviously be steered by, other factors in life, and just go with the flow and try to get to there. But yeah, definitely just having the freedom to do those things. But tiny home is where I see myself. I love the idea. I don't need a ton of space. Give me a good chunk of land, right? That it doesn't have to be huge, but and give me enough space where, maybe do a little garden or something, grow some of my own food and nice little relaxed lifestyle.
Would you say that in that case, the van life is a good compromise, or would you still consider that as a travel, like a holiday?
Not really sure. I feel like I would fall in love with van life really like immediately, but I think like most people, after a month or couple months, you start to realize the restrictions of it, and I think that might be too tiny. But with there's not great like legislature towards the tiny home movement, most and particularly Canada. It's a little bit better out west in like Alberta and BC, but there's still just some old restriction, like old laws and bylaws and stuff like that. So there's a minimum size of house you have to build, right? And then I won't get too much into it, but it's something like 125 square feet or something like that. Or no, it's like 500. I can't remember, but you have to be at least this big, right? And then you're fine. You go below that, and there's all sorts of complications. Things aren't allowed. The workaround for that is to put it on a trailer, right, on wheels. and then it's technically not a house, right? It becomes like a mobile home, and that's what a lot of people do. They just make big fancy trailers.
Yep,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like the house on a trailer instead of your typical like Winnebago or something.
Hmm.
Um, and then you start to see a lot of that's becoming such a big thing. It's much more affordable. People find their financial freedoms that way, which is another bonus to it as well, right? But you see some nights where people are spending like $100,000 to $150,000 building these tiny homes because they want the
Yep.
luxury behind it, but they don't need all the wasted space necessarily, right? And there's a bit of a simplicity that comes behind it. And so that's definitely more appealing than doing the van. Of course, the van would likely be cheaper, but if you can set yourself up with a nice little tiny home on wheels, well, just as long as you got a truck that can tow it, it's basically the same thing, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I think that would be a little more, but honestly, don't know if I'd want something on wheels to move from place to place, or not. But especially if I've got the freedom and resources to do so, just plant down, small tiny plot and just mini vacations as you want, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah, I hear you. Totally feel it. Yep. Now, before that, a couple of minutes ago by now, you mentioned you want you want like a certain anchor point in life. I am correct in saying that before you came home, because you're obviously home in Canada now, before that you hadn't been home in 5 years. Is that correct, or was it
closer to 4.
closer to 4? Okay, fair enough. Is that just the way things happened and because of circumstances, or
Yep.
was it like, oh no, don't want to go home yet?
No, certainly not. I definitely wanted to return home many times, come visit friends, family, etc. Um, but that was more circumstantial, like I missed out on a couple of my friends' weddings because of so, and then like the birth of my buddy's kid, missed out on that as well. And those are big moments that I'm always going to regret not being there for. But at the time, time wise didn't line up and financially didn't line up, to spend a few $1,000s to fly back, and then, like that, I wouldn't have been able to continue being out there,
Yep.
having spent that much on flights and stuff, especially when those timelines that would have been quite frequent.
Yep.
So, and then of course the added unfortunate when I had my accident in Melbourne, right, and ended up with like a $4,000 hospital bill that really set things back. So
Yeah. All right. Yeah. No, I just wanted to know if like that was circumstantial or if it was like still part of that. Oh yeah. Exactly. No. Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm going to move on to the next chapter in this podcast show, as I call it. The next question being, and it's a big question. You can have some time to think about it. It is: do you currently have like a plan in motion? Is it not yet in motion? Is there a plan at all? Or are you still trying to figure out what the buttons of life will do when you push them or when you don't push them? What's the sitch?
I'd say mostly a combination of that. I've got an idea,
That's a
more of
start.
an idea of a plan, and I think not an ultimate end goal, but sort of where I wanted to start working towards, and then just waiting for those buttons and certain boxes to be ticked, and before that can sort of start to get into motion. So yeah, definitely sort of in between at the time.
Okay, yeah. Now, without specifying or going into details too much, um, like in your private life at the moment, you've got a girlfriend. I think I'm allowed to say that on the show. Please tell me if not. Um, and it's a long term, like a long distance relationship at the moment, just
Yeah,
because of the the world we live in right now.
yeah.
She lives abroad, and so do you. How's that working at the moment? First off, is
Um,
that still okay?
Yeah, actually, it's really good. It's a lot easier than I thought it would be, and it's going a lot better. But the powers of the internet and video calling certainly work wonders for that.
Yeah.
So being able to talk every day and do a video call every day, every 2 days, kind of thing, as schedules allow, certainly has a big role to play in that. So.
Well, the good thing is you've only got a video call every 2, 3 days, so I wish I was in the same kind of situation.
Mhm.
Ellis, if you're watching this, I don't mean any of this. Now, there's also an additional factor, and again, please interrupt me if you don't want this to go on. Your girlfriend, she's got an issue with her hearing. I'm correct in saying that. So the communication goes with sign language. It goes hand in hand, I would imagine. Oh yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna put that one in. Now my question really is how did you learn? How did you pick it up?
Just with her.
Oh,
Not like we did formal lessons, but it started off just typing on the phone, passing it back and forth, and then from there like once I realized it wasn't, we're just one day didn't click, like when I was like, yeah, like I want to see this girl more. I took it upon myself to start learning a little bit. Thank you, internet. So like I did a little bit on the internet, downloaded an app on my phone. The biggest thing was like I learned, how to do the finger spelling, so of the alphabet. So that's the biggest part to it. Like, I'm not going to know the signs for every single word. If I don't, if I haven't learned that sign yet, I can always just spell it out. And then that way, right? Boom. Okay, I know what you're talking about. And then when I do that, if I don't know, she'll show me what that sign is, right?
Yeah.
Now that's been a little more complicated because, right, like because she's Japanese. So Japanese sign language. Like I didn't know this at the time. American Sign Language isn't the only sign language out there, right? Like there's British Sign Language, there's Thai Sign Language, there's Japanese Sign Language, international stuff. Like everywhere has their own version. ASL is just the most widely used and the most applicable to me for the most part. So it can be a little challenging because she's thinking in Japanese, and JSL is her first language. So sometimes she'll show me, I'm like, that's not what you taught me before. Oh no, sorry, that's Japanese Sign Language, right? Or because she teaches Thai Sign Language as well. Sometimes she gets used, and that's what she uses more commonly now. So she gets used to the Thai signs, and I'm like, what is that? And oh, sorry, that's Thai. So like sometimes there can be a bit of confusion, or she won't even realize. She'll teach me the Japanese or the Thai, or like the British or something, and then like I'll look it up myself. I'll see it used, and I get confused, and then I'll look it up or something, and like, hey, this is what it is, and oh, sorry, that one was that was this. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's just been that, right? And because she teaches, right? The second I don't, if I have to spell something or I don't know the sign, right? She'll show me the sign, right? And then I repeat it a few times myself. Will take the time, right? So that kind of helps that she has that teaching mentality already, to recognize, and if I'm struggling with something, she'll repeat it, etc. Laugh at me a little bit when I get them wrong, because there's a few ones that are really similar, and I always get them mixed up. But actually, here's a good one, like make coffee. How similar is that? Right? So especially when I'm like, give me 1 minute, I'm gonna go make some coffee. Like it's so easy to quickly do the wrong. I'm gonna make coffee.
The other way around, yeah.
Coffee
make, yeah. Oh, that's cool. I find that fascinating, honestly.
Yeah, it's definitely very fascinating and very interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Because to us, that's like an unexplored world almost, unless obviously you've got a friend or a family member.
Most people pick up second languages. It's German, Spanish, something along those lines, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And or French, and more commonly for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose heading up your direction too, quite a few of those countries share some French there.
Yeah.
But yeah, sign language is typically not what people go to when they pick up a second language or a third. So
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm not gonna lie. It's always been on my bucket list to pick it up. Would you say it's easily picked up, or does it really depend on the kind of course material or the teacher that you have?
I think it's dependent for sure. I mean, it's going to be relative. How well do you learn languages, right?
Mm,
Like someone like yourself, you're already multilingual. Probably be a bit easier to you because you're just used to how to learn languages, I
mm,
suppose.
mm,
As were me, like here in Canada, like French being our second language, we do start learning that in public school, right, in our earlier grades. But I, when I was younger, didn't really care too much for the education, right? Like I just wanted to spend time have fun with my friends, and go to gym class, play my sports, and that carried through. So I never put a high focus on the learning. And then when it came to French class, I definitely had a couple of unique instances, and I had a couple of bad French teachers. One of them subsequently got forced to, well, sorry, she didn't get fired. She got forced into a sabbatical. Um, she had, like, don't get me wrong, the students were really poor to her, but she had like a meltdown in class one day that was quite tragic. So she was forced to leave after that,
mm,
and that was my grade 9 year, and then also my grade 7 French teacher was not good. And I've always been one of those students. If I don't get along with the teacher, I just shut down. I'm like, well, I'm not doing anything now,
mm,
right? So I really didn't learn well when it came to that, and learn how to pick up on language better. So, and then now that I'm older, especially being more of a traveler, world citizen, so to speak, I regret not being multilingual. Like the amount of people you meet, right? Even just having a foundation of, like, a basic foundation of French, Spanish, and German would carry me so far with the people that you meet, right? And because, like, even with having a foundation of Spanish, that still kind of translates to Portuguese a little bit. You can get by, and then it's such an much easier stepping stone, right, to be able to pick up and actually communicate in Portuguese, for example.
yeah.
um and that's one of the top spoken languages in the world, alongside with English. And then French, obviously a little more beneficial for myself, being second language in Canada. So not only is it great for when you meet people, and maybe English isn't their strong suit, oh, you know what? We can talk in Spanish. I know enough. We can do that. And then you can go back and forth, and then you learn from each other as well, right? Because that was one of the things I used to go to, in Chiang Mai. Well, I mean, it's global, but there's a community, forgetting the name of it now, but they do meetups, and
Mm,
all these big cities around the world. But people come together, and it's basically a language exchange. You show
okay.
up, right? You get a name tag, and then, where the one in Chiang Mai, anyways, they had countless stickers of pretty much every country you could think of. Well, oh, I speak a bit of Spanish. I get a sticker for Spanish. Oh, I speak a little, I don't know if they have a Flemish sticker, but you can, maybe the Belgian flag would be on there.
It's the
But,
same as French, isn't it? Huh? According to you, at least.
yeah. Well, you guys just stole the German flag, didn't you? Let's turn it. I digress.
Thin ice.
um, But yeah, you just basically stick the country flags of whatever language you can speak, and then you walk around, and it's a social event, right? Like, oh, hey, I'm really trying to learn, French. I see that guy's got a French flag. I'm gonna go to introduce myself, and then try and converse in French,
Yep.
and exchange that way. Because I mean, almost everyone I actually speak to who is multilingual, you know, it's like, don't worry about course material, any of this stuff. Just start talking to people. Doesn't matter if you don't know a single word, just start talking to people. Everyone that I've met, I think, has said that is the biggest, most important thing. Doesn't matter how little you know, just start talking. You'll pick it up.
Yeah.
You know, so, and it's much better than like studying and trying to memorize. So apparently.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Mhm.
you kind of get thrown into the frying pan.
Yep. And to be honest, I know I learned very well that way. Like the amount of jobs. I mean, that was part of my Australian journey. Was every time I switched locations, I picked a job that I had never done before. You know, and the nice thing about that, like you can't exactly do that at home, right? You hand someone your resume. I see you worked 2 months here, 3 months there, 1 month here. Like, okay, how reliable is this guy, right?
Yeah.
Well, being able to only being a in the backpacker on a working holiday scheme, they're not really looking at that, right? That doesn't matter. They know they can only have you for up to 6 months. And there's a lot of positions that are created to be temporary for, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months kind of thing, right? And scaling from there.
Yeah.
It's very acceptable and able to do that. So it's nice, right? Hey, I've never done this, right? Let's pick up some new skills. All right. Been here 2 months, move on to the next one, right? Work there for 3 months, new skills, right? Which was really, really cool. And it's not necessarily just like to pad my resume. I just enjoy, I'm gonna, one of those life learners. I'm always going to be trying to pick up and improve myself. Even if I never use it professionally, it's just nice to have, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Great, man. Great to hear, honestly. Um, got another quick question, almost like the quick fire round, like from before. It's an easygoing question. What's your guilty pleasure? Like your biggest guilty pleasure in life?
Uh, Whiskey's one of them. I got a small collection on the go there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. All my guilty pleasures. Yeah, that's probably the top one right now. Travel. It all goes to travel and being social.
Exactly. Yeah.
It all comes down, and that's a nice thing you can do socially as well. So, I've got a good chunk of friends who quite enjoy that. You were there for a few of those nights.
Mm-hmm.
What was it called? Boathouse, I think it was in Byron. Was the good whiskey bar?
I think it was. Yeah. Oof, you're
Or
making me
Boat Hole?
think.
Boat Hole?
Was it Boat Hole?
I think it was both Boat Hole.
Boat Hole.
Hole, something like that. It was, yeah,
Yeah.
Boathouse or Boat Hole maybe, and they had it was upstairs, a little
Yeah, I
further.
remember.
Yeah, yeah. Because everywhere else, because of the liquor bylaws in Byron, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Very difficult to go somewhere and enjoy whiskey because, like, oh, we don't pour shot. Well, it's not a shot. Like I want to sip this, right? I'm not sitting here. Well, because of the bylaws that they consider that a shot, you can't, right? You found a few places that were exceptions. Like, what was that big concert venue uh, that was in the back? It had the sort
The
of dive
Northern.
bar. Yeah, yeah, the Northern, and they had the big concert venue in the back. And then attached to, I guess, the left-hand side, if you're standing out front, they had like a little bar over there, cocktail bar kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it
True.
was nice. Like you'd literally be over at the dive bar and like, sorry, but, like one, they didn't have a great whiskey selection there, but two, they wouldn't pour anything neat because they consider that a shot. And to be honest, that's at that time, it's more not necessarily nightclub, but it's definitely let's get drunk crowd.
Yeah. Exactly.
At the crowd who was in the back, which was a mix of people who were there for the entertainment and
Mm-hmm.
and then a mix of people who were drunk and going, hey, well, there's music back here. And then you shift over and it's definitely a calmer, not quite sitting there with your smooth jazz atmosphere, but it was definitely tamer, right? People weren't going flooding to that bar, and it was a tiny little corner bar there. And they were I remember the one female bartender there, who she might have been the only one really, seemed to be there every time, but she was quite knowledgeable on the whiskey selections and stuff, and able to help me narrow down like, I want to try something this direction. Oh, well, actually this one, blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
which was nice. And they would pour you a shot neat on the rocks, whatever, like, so you could, and they had proper like Glencairns and stuff, tasting glasses to do it in as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really nice being able to find that. And then the Boat Hole or Boathouse, whatever it was called,
Yeah.
they had couple hundred whiskeys anyways, to go through. So it was nice being able to find that. And like they definitely catered to the whiskey crowd, because they would give you your whiskeys and ask like, hey, like, do you want a little water droplet, do you want some ice, things like that, so that here's your whiskey and here's the other things, change the whiskey how, so you can explore it, which is nice,
Exactly.
because if when you do that, sometimes, hey, I like this, well, let's see what 2 drops of water does to it, right? Mixes in with the oils and stuff. Sometimes it gives it a little more kick, sometimes it mellows things out, and it's nice to be able to explore that same whiskey, try it a couple different ways. And it was nice being able to find that in Byron Bay of all places.
Exactly, yeah. And it helps people discover whiskeys if they're not into it yet, but they kind of want to.
So. Well, same. I know I did it in Melbourne quite a few times, but I also, tequila is another one that I quite enjoy. And that's not one people really think of in terms of like tasting, like you would a whiskey. People just think, oh, you take shots of tequila at the bar, right? And let's get messed up. No, you can find proper tequila bars that have hundreds of tequilas. And like I took so many friends there, and it was usually the girls that needed convincing, because they just know, oh, I only shoot tequila at the bar, and they're drinking, like your bar well tequila, like your Cuervos and stuff like that, right? The more 60% agave ones that are barely tequila, which are harsh, they burn, they're not the best flavors, and that's what people associate why most people don't like tequila. Or of those who don't, that's usually why.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'd be like, nope, I promise, come with us, right? I'll set you up a little flight. We'll get you the 3 tequilas. Like this one, like I'll get you one that tastes like, that's chocolate, and this one will be like caramel, and this one will be, like butterscotch or something. And they're all super skeptical. I promise, just come, right? They come, we bring them out. I chat with the bartender who's, the tequila one, right? And we work something out, and then, sure enough, and they're like, oh my God, that does smell like chocolate. Now, don't get me wrong, the nose is almost always stronger than what you're going to taste when it comes to the sweetness. But because they're 100% agave, they're smooth, right? They're not going to burn. And they smell nice. They don't smell harsh, right? They tend to be blended so well, or matured so well, that the ethanol doesn't come up and like burn your nostrils out. And oh my God, that is chocolate. Oh my God, that's hazelnut. Oh, that is caramel. And then they taste and go, that was really enjoyable. There was literally one person that ever came to one of those that didn't enjoy it. It was this Russian girl. She's just like, no, I just hate tequila. And don't get me wrong, this wasn't as bad, but I still don't like tequila, right? And that's fair. If you don't like the agave taste, you're never going to move past that, likely, right?
Exactly. But at least you've tried, and you've tried to broaden your mind. So yeah,
she was skeptical, but she was like, yeah, I'm down to give it a go. Like, I believe you. And everyone else was like, this is incredible. I'm so glad I did this. It was cool, because most people don't get into the appreciation sides of spirits, right? And if you do, you're a rich snob or something. No, it's for the layman's and the everyday folk too.
I didn't like this foreign crap. Is what they would say over here.
Well, have you seen those videos? It's like Irish people trying bourbon, or Scottish people trying, whatever.
Yeah.
Throws them off.
Yeah, exactly. I've got one more little chapter before we start wrapping things up. But anyway, I'm gonna dig into the past a little bit. I'm going to reminisce, bring up some nostalgia, and I'm going to do that by showing you a photo.
Ooh.
Yes. You ready?
Yeah.
Go.
That's some Byron Bay shenanigans.
Oh God. I can't even remember what the occasion was for this photo.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what bottle we're holding.
Ooh.
Looks like a whiskey bottle.
I literally have no clue. Oh no.
That was birthday. I just showed the old lady that one yesterday, was talking about you, and she's like, which one's Yoni again? I was like, you know who he is. Like, I need to see a picture. And she's like, okay, yes, I've seen that photo. And that's the one I sent her.
Well, I'm going to show you that one anyway, and try and capture the essence.
There it is. Good food, great
Yeah.
beer selection.
Yep.
Fantastic.
I keep confusing this photo with um, the one time we went to what was it? The Ribs, when we went to the Ribs bar, I think it was.
Now, was this when like we had some other friends with us, but they had multiple restaurants all within this area?
Exactly.
Yeah, I can't. What was that area? I forget the name of that place.
Yeah, well,
But yeah, that was kind of nice too, because much as I like to do it, I like to explore all the food. So it's like, oh, well, we'll go get a small portion from this place and we just crisscrossed and had like 8, 10 different meals between us all. And hey, give me some of that, Yoni. And
yeah.
yeah.
This was on a different occasion though. The one time we
Yeah.
went for the Ribs.
Yeah, because we went there a second time.
Yeah, we went there a second time, and that was with Megan and her girlfriend as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, good times, man. Good times. I've got a couple more photos. I'm just quickly going to go through them because why the hell not?
Is this the Irish pub?
Yep. That's when we first met up again after what, like a year of not seeing each other again, I think.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. And I remember what you first said to me when you saw me again. It was like, you've gotten even taller. That's what you said. I'm like, nope,
Yeah.
not really.
Don't tell anyone that I got shorter.
Or that, yeah.
No, yeah. You creeping my gram?
Yep, creeping the gram.
Yeah, that was where did I Early Beach? No, Whit Sundays. That was Whit Sundays skydiving.
Look at that face though. Like you're not even bothered by the fact that you're floating in the air.
Well, that's what my guy said. Like I was the least amped person that he's ever gone. He's like, "Did you even enjoy that?" I was like, "Yeah, I was just like I was enjoying the view." Right? He's like, most people are either trying not to vomit, freaking out because they're like terrified of that they're falling, or they're like super adrenaline, like whoa, rock out, man, kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? It's like you were just like calm and just looked like you were just taking the scenery. I was like, yeah, I was. That was
Yeah,
it.
it's just
Like it was gorgeous, right? And part of the reason I chose to do it at the Whit Sundays, because I mean, anybody who's ever seen the image from above, the Whit Sundays with the water coming in and the channel. I forget what's the name. Where the water sand spirals. I
yeah.
forget those, but the water channels, anyways.
Yeah.
That was it. I was like, it's great seeing those photos, but when you do the Whit Sunday sailing, you don't really see it. Like you get off on one of the areas and you climb up a bit, right, to a viewpoint so you can get some good photos. But it's only at an elevated angle, right? You're not getting that perfect above image. Well, if I skydive there, I'll be able to see that in person.
Yep.
And that was why I chose to do it there versus somewhere else.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we had to come a bit inland because of the wind that day, so I didn't get the perfect view I wanted, right? Which is unfortunate, but it was still great because there's a lot of like farmland and the green rolling hills and stuff. So it was still great, and you could still kind of see it. We were just like
Yeah.
7 kilometers in or something like that from the other jump point, which was much closer, obviously.
Yeah. Crazy, because I didn't even see that picture until I was stalking you on the gram, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna use that one, just because your face is like Not
Yeah.
even bothered in the slightest.
Yeah, honestly, it was sort of a waste to buy the photos and the video, because like the video, he's got the GoPro on his wrist like a watch, right? And that's what he tries to do is capture your reaction and everything. He's like, that was the most boring video ever. Like, so it was kind of a waste because they definitely gouge you on the prices for that, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, that, I mean, I would still like you to buy it, obviously, because, he gets a kick as well. But
Yeah.
he's like, I would totally understand if you don't, because you were just too chill for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is what it is. I went for the experience, not to get a video, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, yeah, me teaching in Thailand.
Mr. Munro.
No, it's Mr. Jordan.
Oh, okay. Apologies.
Yeah, I mean, it's both, but they tend to drift to Mr. Jordan more.
Yeah.
Yeah, back when I was rocking the dome. Which
I was gonna say
subsequently is what my sign name became. This
the dome.
Jordan, yeah, Jordan is this because it was shaved.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and then now she's confused. She's like, we got to get you a new sign name because you're not shaving your head anymore. Well. So, but they kept it the same for now.
I think that's as a guy I can say that. I'm sure I am. I'm allowed to. I think it's a very cute photo of yours.
Yeah, actually, a lot of people like it, and it is. It's really cool because the interaction with those children versus say like somewhere in North America, it's a very different take. Like you see a lot in Canada and the U.S. where teachers like people just don't have respect for them. Like students don't have respect for them.
Yeah.
From not just an authority standpoint, but like people aren't excited to learn, like, and they don't like being told what to do, and it's just not there, right? But in Thailand, like the passing on of knowledge is the pretty much the greatest thing you can do, right? Which is why part of why the monks are so high up on their respect, totem pole or hierarchy. Teachers are right up there with them as well. It's a very highly respected profession. So not only just generally like the people, but students as well. And for the most part, that's sort of ingrained in them. They learn that growing up. So there's a lot of respect towards the teachers. You still get kids who misbehave and stuff like we would, that just comes with being a kid. But it's far less. And when they do act up or misbehave, it's not disrespectful towards you, right? Like you're never going to have a kid who's going to, I shouldn't say never, but I've never heard of kids lashing out at the teachers, being violent or like cursing at the teacher. It's just like they're going to shut down or they're just going to not listen to you.
Yep.
And that's what it comes down to, right? It's nothing personal. It's just I'm not doing this right now. I don't want to be a part of this. And that's essentially all I ever saw. Because that photo was from an English camp that I did. So a lot of around the country, a lot of the schools, because they all work independently too. It's not like here in Canada where or in like our district or our province, it's all the same. Like everybody goes back on the same day, like the beginning of September, it gets decided, oh, it's September 6th or it's September 9th. Every school starts that day. No, every school there is independent. Their curriculums are slightly different as well. It's not like you have to teach this. Every teacher does this, right? No, it's all sort of independent, and they've got like the head of their school sort of dictates that, or the head of the department at that school.
Right.
But they offer during their summer break, so to speak, their holidays, they offer these summer camps, which typically are like 2 weeks. Some of them only are a couple of days. It all depends. But they come in for extra English lessons, essentially. And so you got to take into account, would you want to be hauled in for summer school, for extra learning during your break? No. So most of these kids, I shouldn't say most, a lot of these kids didn't want to be there. But even still, like there was really only a handful of students that were misbehaved, and a couple, I think there was only like two where you were super frustrated, like, no, do what I say,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. But they also, it's very different too. It's not like here, it's like, oh, well, you're going to teach grade 4, or you're going to do a 3-4 split or something. Over there, like the job I had lined up, um, I would have been teaching grade, like, did I have kindergarten? No, I think it was grade 1, grade 2, grade 3s, grade 4s, grade 5s, and grade 6s. Right? So that's essentially 6 different curriculum, like lesson plans that I have to work out for each level, right?
Plus, it's
But
different
then,
ages as well, isn't it?
yeah. So that's different ages, right? Because they're in different grades, different age groups, and but they also break each grade down. And every school has, some have more, some have less, but they have a category for the brightest students, and then
Right.
a little bit less, and then your least academic students and more of the problem, which tend to, globally, I think, tend to
Mm-hmm.
be your more problem behavioral children.
Yeah.
Um, and then within those 6 grades, I also have, a couple different of those tiers, like I'd have like 3 different tiers of them. So my weekly schedule was stretched out, like, oh, this day you're doing grade 1 and grade 2 or something, and then these levels, and then this day it's this. And so it's quite chaotic and hectic in that regard. I'm sure once you jump into it, it would be more manageable. You just get used to it,
Mm-hmm.
but it was definitely intimidating getting into that space. So it was nice to do that English camp and get a thing of that, because we just did, like, for each day we would rotate. I do like a grade 1, then I'm moving to like a grade 2 class, like grade 2 2 or something, and then like a grade 3 1, grade 3 1, or grade 4 1 kind of thing. So you got sort of at all ends of, and then different grades as well. So you got the super bright, great class, your favorite to teach, and then you've got the behavioral students, and you're like, ugh. So
Yeah.
mhm.
Good.
Very,
When I first heard that you were going to undertake such a such a journey or experience or whatever you want to call it, I was like, yes, Jordan, get in, do it, because I
again,
think
no,
it's a noble job. Yeah.
yeah, I certainly thought so. And again, it was something I'd never done, like it never formally taught in that regard. And I thought, that would be a nice place to be able to do it, right? Like, I feel it's more valuable
Mm-hmm.
over there. Like, not detracting over here by any regards. Like, it's not an easy job. It's certainly necessary, but more so there because they're already lacking that.
Yeah.
So, and because a lot of places as well, it's like, well, we've nominated this teacher to go learn English and then come back and teach it. Well, a lot of the time they've learned it from somebody who it's not their first language as well, so they learn a bit of broken English, and then then they get their broken English, and then they come
Yeah.
back and that, so they learn English, but then pronunciation and things like that, and just common grammar mistakes are very rampant in that regard, because which is why they highly seek out native English speakers, particularly with the more neutral accents, and that's highly sought after. So it's kind of nice, and again, why I think it's a little more valuable.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Yeah, because like what you said, it's basically becoming like you keep on photocopying a photocopy, but
Yeah,
over time that
it just
copy,
degrades.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
yeah. No, good stuff, man. Good stuff. This kind of wraps up what I have got in store for you and for me as well. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I am going to wish you the very, very, very best in the near future, but also in the distant future. And I want to really thank you from the bottom of my heart to, be willing to be a guest on the show. And I hope to see you again soon.
certainly. I love how you're talking like we're not going to be chatting tomorrow or later today.
I know, right? I know, right? But you've got to fake
Yeah.
it. Fake it till you make it. All right, buddy. Thanks again for coming on, and
Yeah, of course, man.
talk to you soon.
Yeah. Talk to you soon.
Bye bye.
Hi everyone, if you liked this episode, please leave a like or a comment to tell me your thoughts. Or don't, and don't forget to subscribe. Or don't, it really helps me to keep working on EFAF and it means a lot to me. Thanks.